I'm John Hinkle, the senior pastor of First Presbyterian Church here in downtown Murfreesboro on the corner of College and Spring. This is your Saturday morning preview of Sunday morning sermon. And someone asked me, someone said, they didn't ask, they said, we really like when you give us what time you're doing it. So it's Friday, and according to the courthouse, it is 7:40 on Friday. So I just got finished going over my sermon. I've been up since 3 o'clock in the morning. It's a long story. Been very productive this morning. I just want to say that. Took Maggie for a long walk. Jake's getting to a place where he can't do long walks anymore. It's the last day of her spring break, so she's sleeping in. Hey, here's a fun fact. This is kind of interesting. Some of you know this. I have two really close friends. One, a couple that lives in North Carolina. They were the first people kind of joined our church in North Carolina, William and Wendy Fields. And then my best friend in Georgia, Pete and Karen Ewing. And just, we don't believe in chance and God's divine providence. They're both coming to Middle Tennessee, to Nashville, to see Lyle Lovett in concert in Nashville. How crazy is that? Pete and Karen are actually spending the night with us, and we're hoping that Wendy and William will be in worship with us. And you know William, if you were here from our installation, because he did the charge to the congregation. So let's talk about this Sunday. So this Sunday, we are looking again in the Gospel of Matthew as we're talking about this road less traveled, about the moment Jesus is in the Garden of Gethsemane. And if you haven't figured it out by now, we're getting a lot of things out of order, right? The Garden of Gethsemane, by taking this up and looking at it, it means that we're going to skip over Palm Sunday, skipping over Jesus throwing out the money changers in the temple and Jesus teaching in the temple. We're even skipping over Jesus' last meal with his disciples in the upper room. And we're doing that because for two reasons. One is because I think sometimes when we get things out of order, even though it kind of makes us uneasy because we're very linear people, it's for that very reason. It makes us uneasy. And it by making us uneasy, I think we recalibrate, we relook at what is happening in a more, what's the word I'm trying to use? In a more serious manner. And that's what I want us to do. I want us to look about what happens in the Garden of Gethsemane in a more serious manner, meaning we're just not going with the flow. We're focusing all our attention in this moment. And you know, this is the moment where Jesus literally gives himself in his blood, sweat, and tears. And he asks God to take this cup away from him, because Jesus, I think, is finally figuring out for the first time how this ends. And it ends on Golgotha. And he, being fully man, as he is fully God, but being fully man, he just like, if we can do it another way, I would really like that. But Jesus also prays, not my will, but your will be done. And what we see in this moment, I think, is almost parallel to one of the very first stories in the Bible. And it's in another garden with another man, the first man, as Paul talks about it in his letter to the Romans. In fact, Paul says Adam is the first man, Jesus is the new man, or the second man. And the irony of it all is that Jesus, through faith, accepts his divine calling, where Adam rejected that divine calling for the purposes of his own humanity. God said, don't eat of the apple. Adam eats of the apple. Jesus could have rejected God's divine calling for his life too, because he is fully man. He has free will, but Jesus surrenders that will to God. So that is going to be our focus this Sunday. And we're going to talk about why this is so important to us. Because if you're like me, I definitely resemble Adam more than I resemble Jesus. And so our sermon's going to, I think, open us up to not only why this is, why we're more like Adam than Jesus, but then how Jesus, by accepting God's will for his life, gives us hope in doing the same. So I look forward to being with y'all on this 5th Sunday of Lent. And I hope everybody has a great day. Shout out to my super fans, the Fraleys, especially Savannah. If you're in town, Savannah, I don't know. It's still the end of spring break, so you may not be in town. But if you are, come sit up front. Loved it when you sat up front. It was great. Barry Melanie, Glenn Emery, Marcy Richmond. Nobody else said they wanted to be a super fan. So those are my super fans. Y'all have a great day.